Today on Ian vs. Daddybones, we're getting downright fierce and opening up something new like Ryu from Street Fighter 2. Welcome back! It's another exciting episode of Ian vs. Daddybones. I am Ian Daddybones. I'd like to welcome everybody to the show. To everybody watching on YouTube and Facebook right now, hey everybody, thank you for taking the time to check me out. To all my Patreon subscribers, you know I got a high five and a nut tap to everybody supporting the brand, throwing me $3 a month to get access to bonus content, your name in the credits, and you get access to the Original Geeks podcast. And I can officially say the bonus content of all bonus content is officially live and available on the Patreon to all current and future subscribers. The one episode of Ian vs. Daddybones I have been waiting over a year to film finally got filmed last week, and I can officially celebrate. I have been celebrating. I am in such a euphoric, happy state right now. And I feel like I had the best sex in my life, and I really need to smoke a cigarette. But the thing is, I don't smoke cigarettes. So the only thing I could think about doing to take the edge off, you know, to really crack one open, is to open this brand new Street Fighter 2 Jada Toys action figure. But that's not about the bonus content. That's just to help me take the edge off. The reason I am in such a euphoric state is because the Holy Grail has officially shipped. The Holy Grail has officially arrived, and you can watch me for an hour and 20 minutes. Mark the fuck out, because I officially have Eternia. The crowdfund I have been looking forward to since the very first episode of Ian vs. Daddybones, since the very first moment the Patreon went live. From the minute I got my first subscribers on Patreon, I have been counting down. I have been paying off this crowdfund, financing it at $47 a month over the course of the entire 2023 year. Paid that shit off, and then it just became a waiting game of when Mattel was gonna start shipping it out. Because when we crowdfunded it, we were told it was going to ship by the end of March 2024, and this was in like November, October, November-ish 2022. So a lot of people, including myself, have been waiting for Eternia to get produced, manufactured, boxed, and shipped. And when I filmed last week's episode of the show, and to everybody that watched last week's episode of the show, you actually know that the final episode was actually the second time I had to film the show because my memory card crapped out on me. That was an issue in itself that wound up getting fixed when I got a brand new memory card for my camera. And when I got that new memory card for my camera, the first content filmed was me opening up the big box of Eternia and showing all the Patreon subscribers, you know, how Mattel went above and beyond with the inside packaging of all this. So that's currently available on the Patreon, so I invite you to go check that out. It's totally worth the $3 a month, plus you get access to all the other bonus content. If you're on the fence about the Patreon, you get a free trial AJ Styles for 7 days. You can go check it out on the house. And if you're still on the fence after the 7 days and don't want to continue, then, you know, hey, at least thank you for taking the time to check out the free trial. But I filmed last week's episode, and on last week's episode, I talked about how last weekend, over the course of the weekend, word started making its way to the internet through Instagram, YouTube channels, Facebook pages, Masters of the Universe Facebook groups, that Eternia has officially started to ship for some people. Because some people were showing the shipper box, some people were showing the inside actual box, as well as the inside contents, and some people actually had that shit fully set up already, and it was like, oh my god, we're fucking here. You know what I mean? So, I mentioned that last week on the show. So, the way it went down was, when I got out of work in the morning, just like today, I came to film the show. I recorded the show, like I'm doing right now, called it a day when I was done, closed out, you know what I mean, closed up shop, went home, went to start editing the episode, and that's when I noticed my memory card was glitching up because nothing, it fucked up recording, and it was all fucking corrupted and shit. And I had to come back and film the show, so I used my smaller backup memory cards, and wound up filming the show, getting it done. And rewind, before I filmed the show the second time, because I mentioned on the show the second time, because originally the first time I filmed the show was when I mentioned about finding out Eternia started shipping for some people. Then I went home, and I was frustrated with the whole memory card thing, that my daughter was taking a nap, my wife was taking a nap, and I'm like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna go take a nap. So I went and laid down, and I fucking fell asleep for like an hour, and got a little power nap, because I knew I had to come back and record the show again. And when I woke up, checked my email, I checked my phone while I was like, still waking up and processing that I'm still alive. Looking at my phone, looking at my notifications and shit, and I saw that I had an email from Mattel Creations, and looking at the subject of the email, and it says your item has shipped, and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, my item shipped? I just got what I ordered from you guys in the mail. I'm not expecting anything other than, oh my fucking god. And then I clicked on the email, and then sure enough, there's that. This is what I was waiting for over the past year. Got my email from Mattel telling me your Eternia has officially shipped, and this was on a fucking Monday. So I'm looking at it like, damn, I gotta work today, I gotta work tomorrow, I'm off the rest of the week. Like, this is perfect. Like, this thing should totally fucking be here by Friday. So then I was all happy as fuck that I got my shipping notification, and I came back here and recorded the show a second time and whatnot, and then sure enough, you know, once, you get the shipping notification, and then it's officially at FedEx, and then FedEx has a delivery date scheduled and whatnot, and then once I know that delivery date, then it's like, oh my god, hurry up and fucking get here. And, you know, I mean, the reality is, they shipped that shit, that was in a fucking like 48-pound box. You know what I mean? So I tell all y'all about that experience on the Patreon. But like, holy crap, man! I will, like, when I filmed the Patreon video, what I did was I brought me and my son, the two of us had to carry the box out and put it in the entire fucking back seat of the car. And it completely took up the whole back seat of the car. Like, couldn't even see out the rear view window. So it's like, well, I guess we're going to Grandma's house, taking the back road, so I don't have to worry about assholes on the parkway. So me and my son wound up taking the box here. Now, I will say, going into it, my shipper box arrived in great condition, other than like a little puncture hole in the back that kind of concerned me at first. Because I'm like, uh-oh, that doesn't look good. But then, other than that, the shipper box was like, as good as it could be for being a shipper box. I mean, sure, it had like black marks all over it and scuffs from being like put in and out of trucks and shit. But I put that shit on my kitchen table, and you know, I let my daughter Sadie look at it, and my daughter Sadie's just looking at the size of this big cardboard box and not really getting it. So, you know, I knew I was going to be peeling the shipper box off, so I started peeling the shipper box off so I can get a look at the condition it arrived in, and I got the shipper box off, and I will say my Eternia did not arrive in perfect condition. Now, they did mail me a 48-pound box. You know, it's been like, at this point, it's been like a week since I got the notification that it shipped, but it hasn't been a week since I got the since I got the package. You know what I mean? So basically, once I got the shipper box off and I was able to look at Eternia and its big, beautiful front of the box art, and I noticed that right on the right side of the box, it was like crushed in and had like a crease going down the artwork through Viper Tower, and on like the top of the box, like basically right on the top edge of the box, the cardboard was completely split. So I was, you know, you're able to like see inside it and see the decorative boxes that they had, and I could already tell that one of the boxes was crushed in on the bottom, and I'm like, oh fuck, are you kidding me? So long story short, I took pictures of all of that, emailed Mattel, and was basically like, dudes, what the fuck? Like, it's one of the pictures I send y'all, it flat out says for adult collectors. You know what I mean? Like, you crowdfunded this. Like, there was no red carpet rolled out for this. You know what I mean? There was no announcement from Mattel saying, okay, Eternia backers, this is the moment you've been waiting for. And we never got like a presentation video talking about like, now is the time. And honestly, a lot of people were expecting that because they've done it for other crowd funds. Like a friend of mine, Jay, who I was talking to during this entire process and even beforehand because I've known him for years, but Jay collects toys. Jay participated in the WWE New Generation Ring crowd fund that came with like Doink the Clown, Dink the Clown, Diesel, Randy Savage, the 90s WWE neon entrance doorway. So Jay crowdfunded that, and I even remember seeing that red carpet rollout reveal for what collectors can expect, and they showed off the beautiful packaging for that thing. And I never backed that. I wasn't collecting WWE at that time, so it was one of those things where I was happy for Jay because he was able to participate in crowdfunding that, because I remember seeing Mattel advertise and hype and promote the crowdfund for the WWE New Generation Ring right at a time when I was first starting to collect Origins. You know what I mean? So Jay was basically my Q&A guru as to like what it was like, what should I expect with this crowdfund process. And my whole thing, and I explain on the Eternia video, you know, like I wasn't happy with the condition of the box, especially considering I told my wife I wasn't planning on opening the damn thing. You know what I mean? Like, you know, that's one thing I definitely learned, and, you know, from LL Cool J, is that my word is bond. And when I tell my wife that I don't plan on opening this fucking thing, I just want to own one, my word is bond, and I don't want to open this fucking thing. But because of the condition the box came in, now I have to open the goddamn thing to make sure everything inside it is not broken. Because I'm really concerned with this like top right corner being smashed in, and like, what the fuck. And the thing is, like, it was the Eternia box, inside a shipper box. They didn't have styrofoam, like, between the shipper box and the actual Eternia box. There was like no insulated padding. All there was like compressed cardboard corner protectors that I believe wound up doing more damage to the inside Eternia boxes, and I feel like that type of shit should have had styrofoam packing that shit tight inside the box. If they were going, you know what I mean? Based on the size, based on how much it weighed, based on the fact that they charged us $50 for shipping. Like, it was kind of fucking crazy. And I wasn't exactly thrilled, considering the fact that by the time I got my shipping notification until it actually arrived on Thursday, I was seeing numerous posts on the internet and across social media of people getting their Eternia playsets, and it seems like for every 10 people that already got Eternia, it seemed like 6 of them had damaged boxes, and it seemed like the ones that didn't get damaged boxes, everyone's like, oh my god, you got so lucky, yours came in such a great condition, everybody's been getting damaged boxes, and everybody commenting is like, oh great, can't wait to see what mine's gonna look like when it shows up. So, I mean, mine came damaged, like, once in the Patreon backers will see that, well, not backers, the Patreon subscribers, crowdfund backers, I'm getting my words mixed up. The Patreon subscribers will see on the video when I open the box that the way they packaged Viper Tower inside that box, the bottom of the Viper Tower box was all crushed. And that's the thing. I'm not looking at it like someone that's trying to scalp the goddamn thing. I don't plan on fucking selling it. The whole reason why I wanted it so bad is to be like, oh my god, I fucking got Eternia. And now I have fucking Eternia. I'm not selling that shit. But there's scalpers trying to make a killing right now. You got scumbags and scammers that are trying to not only scam people, but you got people that are trying to scam Mattel, and it's fucking crazy because the audacity of people just posting a picture in a group saying they have Eternia for sale, saying they have King Grayskull available for sale. Meanwhile, the person stole somebody else's picture from another group. So a lot of pictures are being identified by group members across different collector groups, including myself. Like, I take great pleasure in fucking calling out scumbags and scammers. But I was not happy with the condition of my box. I contacted Mattel, and I told Mattel, like, look, all I want is $50 kickback on my shipping. If I could just get reimbursed for the shipping, like, I'd be happy with this. Because Mattel's trying to be like, well, I sent Mattel the pictures, and I sent them pictures, I explained my displeasure, and that I would like to be reimbursed for my shipping. Mattel emails me back and is like, okay, what we can do is we've contacted FedEx about emailing you a shipping label that we need you to print out so you then can put on your Eternia box. We need you to ship that back to us so we can take the time to inspect the box, inspect the damage, and then determine what we're going to do. We're either going to issue you a replacement or we're going to be issuing you a refund. Okay, I had to take an edit break. So Mattel's like, okay, we contacted FedEx. They're gonna email you a shipping label. We need you to print out the shipping label, put it on your Eternia box, ship that back to us. We're gonna inspect the box, inspect the damage, and then we're gonna decide what we're going to do. We will either replace your item or we will issue you a cash refund. And I'm like, whoa, hold up a second. And I emailed them back. And I'm like, okay, this kind of bothers me because it's like you're jumping the gun. I never said I wanted to replace it. I never said I wanted a refund. I said I wanted the $50 shipping reimbursed to me. I will eat the damage, but I'm letting you know, kind of pissed off about this. And I know I'm not the only one because you guys have had over a year to prepare for how you're going to ship this. The shipping was absolutely atrocious based on what we were charged for shipping. And I never said anything about wanting to send it back. I never said anything about wanting a refund or have it replaced. You know how big that box is. If you honestly think I'm going to be shipping that entire 48-pound box back with no guarantee that you're going to mail it back to me after you make a decision, bothers me. And considering I have over 20 years customer service experience, I definitely know a verbatim response template, whether it's a letter for Microsoft Word or an email template. You're basically telling me in writing that you can make a promise or you will attempt to make a promise that is impossible. And the promise that is impossible is we will replace your item. Bullshit, you can't replace the item. It was a crowdfund. You only made what you sold. If you had extras lying around in the warehouse, we'd be at 10,000 backers, no problem. Everybody would have King Grayskull. You know what I mean? Why are you jumping the gun? I never said I wanted a refund. I never said I wanted a replacement. So, I noticed that the lady I was speaking to on the email was different than the other person that I was speaking to. So, I also attached the pictures that I previously sent, just so we're all on the same page with this. And I sent that email to Mattel. Mattel got back to me, basically apologizing for the whole having to send your Eternia back thing. And Mattel made a decision, and I feel comfortable with Mattel's decision. So I'm going to just close the book on that because I'm going to give them 30 days to see if there's any movement because I do feel compensated given the situation because that's the thing, not everybody's rich and not everybody was able to fund it when the 30-day period was going down. And then you got people that didn't even know about it. You got people that were unable to fund it or participate in the process. And now with the secondary market, you got scalpers being straight up scumbags. You know what I mean? And it's just, even moderators on groups are having to make posts. Shout out to Ben Massa because I know he likes my stuff here and there on social media. And he's got a group called Orko's Keep that I joined in. He shares a lot of great Masters of the Universe vintage stuff from other countries, scans of books and comic books and French magazines and stuff that all have Motu content and stuff and shit I've never seen before. But even people like Ben have had to make a post for the groups yo, we understand some of you guys are trying to sell Eternias and shit, but we gotta put a cap on this because you guys cannot be trying to rip people off and sell this for outrageous prices just to start drama in the threads. And you know what I mean? It basically becomes an admin's nightmare for like running a group. And that's the thing. You got people stealing pictures from other groups trying to sell merchandise and products they don't even have. So you got your fair share of scumbags that are going out of their way to capitalize on this. And then you got like, you know, upper tier people where money's not a problem. And you know, I see all sorts of toy collectors that have these gorgeous, beautifully decorated rooms that are well lit with glass cabinets and shit that always look so impressive. So like for collectors like those, it probably wasn't a thing to order 1, 2, 3 Eternias. I think you were able to like crowdfund 3 max, I believe it was. But then you got people like me that was in the process of paying off my house, raising my children, you know what I mean? And it was like pulling teeth trying to get my wife's permission and approval to allow me to do this and participate in this. And even when I tried getting a jump start, saving the money in July of 2022 to get a jump start on whatever Mattel may be deciding to sell Eternia for, because that's when we didn't know it was going to be a crowdfund. That's when people thought it was going to come to retail. So people were like not fantasy booking, but they were like fantasy coming up with prices and whatnot, and wishful thinking of, you know, what this could cost us if they once they decide to release it. So even when I tried getting a jump start on it, you know, I wasn't able to get the full balance in full for Eternia to take care of it, especially during week 1 when I was guaranteed a King Grayskull figure as a early backer bonus. And it really wasn't until the final week of the crowdfund where I was kind of going in panic mode, where I kind of have to come to acceptance that, you know, it would have been fucking cool to jump on, but unfortunately, you know, my wife is right. We are paying the house off. We do have car repairs we are currently working on, so, you know, maybe in another timeline. But that's when I learned about Shop Pay. And I was able to finance the crowdfund, because between the Patreon subscribers and the social media, as well as basically with what I'm putting into it, I was able to finance it at $47 a month. So I spent 2023 making it work, making it happen, able to pay that thing off. And for what I'm doing right now with Ian versus Daddybones, collecting toys, collecting this Masters of the Universe line, like, that was such a huge accomplishment for me, you know what I mean? Because not only did I pay off Eternia after, you know, acting like I'm a hungry frickin' mogwai that's like begging to be fed after midnight. Like, my wife got so sick of hearing me talk about Eternia nonstop, because I'm just like, was just geeking out in like childhood nostalgia mode. Like, everything about what I'm doing right now over the past year has built the foundation of this show. And now I have a library of content that like all revolves around Masters of the Universe and WWE and my Ninja Turtles and stuff. And yeah, I mean, it was really dope once I was able to get that shit paid off. But now it's like, holy crap, sinking in, because now it's officially here, and it's like, looking at that box is just freaking breathtaking. And also too, going back to the damaged Eternia box, that's one thing I didn't really notice until I started shining light on it. But basically, kind of as a certificate of authenticity for like buying Eternia, like once you open up the box, because like the Eternia box is like, it's taped, sealed, but once you split the tape, the top of the box lifts up, kind of like a giant cake box. So the inside of the box is that all the parts are stored in everything's like made to fit like Tetris, you know? But right on top of the boxes is your bag with like your instruction booklet, your sticker sheets, the mini comic, but there's also this lithograph poster of the box art, but this poster is like of a baseball card stock, and it's got that holographic shimmery paper, and it's just absolutely incredible. But unfortunately, I did notice there is a subtle small crease on that poster, which kind of bothers me, because once I found out that thing was shipping with a box art poster, I'm like, oh my god, that thing's totally going in a frame, and it's going to be going in a frame. It just sucks that it has a somewhat subtle, noticeable little crease from, like, you know, like if you had like a Mead notebook and you dropped your notebook in school and you get like that little cardboard crease line. But it's not that bad, but it's still there because you can see it, even though you may show it to somebody and they may not see it. But, you know, but other than that, I'm impressed with it overall. I can say officially my wife did melt my ice, because basically I've been in the mode for the past year of I just want to pay it off. I just wanted to get it. I am not going to open it. I don't want to set it up, because if I set it up, then something can get broken, and especially with the way it has that monorail track. In the 80s, the vintage monorail track was made of like this shitty, cheap, brittle, easy to break plastic. And for people that own the vintage old Eternia playset from the 80s, they may have the 3 towers and all the parts, but a lot of people are missing pieces of the track. And you know, I'm so used to seeing incomplete Eternia sets that it's just freaking mind-boggling to me actually seeing it, because that's how I spent my Super Bowl Sunday. I spent my Super Bowl Sunday deciding, after watching a couple of YouTube videos, that I really wanted to check the inside condition of Viper Tower, because that's the one box that was the most crushed. And that's the one I was nervous about, because based on the angle of the box, the side that crushed was the bottom of the base once it's standing up. So that's what I wanted to inspect. And so it basically started off with me taking Viper Tower out of the box and getting that set up with the parts that came in its box. It was basically the periscope snake neck that had the handle that screwed in at the bottom to secure it, and then it had the 4 arms for the track support arms, and that was basically done. And then I decided to check Grayskull Tower. Now, mind you, after taping Viper Tower out of the box, thankfully the base was not cracked, but the box is like smushed on the bottom, and that fucking sucks. Grayskull Tower, I set that up. That was just as easy. Grayskull Tower came with like a gate for the dungeon door. It has a silver chain attached with a spike ball that rests over the monorail track, so it gets knocked down and it makes the gate closed. But that also had 4 track support arms, and that actually popped into a little base that was in the central tower box. So it was one of those type of things where I kind of baby stepped the process, where I did the first 2 towers, and then it's like, well, I can at least open the central tower box to get the base out for Grayskull Tower, so that way that's officially popped into its base. And then it became a matter of looking through the central tower box and seeing all the different parts and the platforms, and that's when I decided, you know what, I'm not watching the Super Bowl anyway, I might as well see how long it's going to take me to perfectly try my best to apply all these stickers to Eternia. So I wound up spending like an hour and a half getting like both of those sticker sheets and having everything applied where it needed to go. That was frustrating as hell, but I got it done. And then it basically became a matter of debating if I wanted to get started putting Central Tower together. And what I decided to do was I decided to sleep on it because I knew I needed to clear off some space on the countertop area in my basement where I'm planning on putting this. And so I basically had to go into Bob the Builder mode and freaking move shit out of the way and clear out the area completely. And then when I set the base up for the base for Central Tower, that's when I went looking for my screwdriver, because there were screws I needed to attach pieces. I needed, like, the bottom part of the tower with the lion mouth pops into the base, and then you got to secure it with 4 screws. And of course, that's the moment when I can't find my precision screwdriver that was where I left it last time, that seems to have grown legs and fucking disappeared, and none of my kids knew where the hell it was. So the only closest thing I had to a Phillips head screwdriver was the one in the multi-tool that we had in the drawer, and unfortunately I needed a more precision screwdriver to get into that, next to that wall of the tower, and actually get those screws in. So I was able to eventually get the Phillips head screwdriver I needed, and yeah, yesterday I wound up, after I got out of work, I decided to finish assembling Eternia, and I officially had that set up on display in my basement, and it looks absolutely fucking incredible. It's definitely a moment as a Masters of the Universe fan, and I guess now as a toy collector, if I can call myself that. It's something I never thought I would experience in my life. It's something I never thought as a He-Man fan I would ever own. You know what I mean? That's why I was all about jumping on the opportunity over a year ago when the crowdfund started. It's like one of those, I don't, everybody else wants a PlayStation 5 right now, and it's like, I'm so sick of consoles because I'm on my second PS4 and that thing's so fucking loud. I don't even want to imagine how loud a PlayStation 5 is going to be. And plus, even if I get a PlayStation 5, all my kids are going to want to do is play on it, and I'm never going to get time to play fucking games. And all they're going to do is ask me for more fucking games and shit on a console that I can't even use. So, you know what? Fuck it. I'm buying Eternia. I put my foot down and made a goddamn decision. And you know what? That decision looks fucking beautiful. It's in my basement right now, and I'm like fucking, what do you call it? I'm like fucking, jeez, man, it's so fucking sick. Like, I never thought I would get to experience owning an Eternia. You know what I mean? If I ever owned Eternia, I probably would buy a vintage one second hand that was probably incomplete and still cost me a fortune. But now I got to experience what it's like having it arrive, unboxing it, opening the box, documenting the process, applying the stickers, building that shit, and then finally assembling it without assembling the tracks, because I wasn't sure if I even wanted to take the tracks into consideration with the setup, considering that was the most brittle part of the process. That's what was going to be the easiest to get broken. But luckily, with the Origins version, the Eternia playset allows you different options to display your tracks. So if you don't want to do the like cloverleaf figure 8 like aerial setup, you can do a smaller setup that's basically just a ring around Central Tower, which is what I chose to do. So that way I could still utilize and display the track going around it like a ring of Saturn, you know, but I don't have to worry about it coming out. You know what I mean? I don't have to worry about the front track pieces getting bumped by anything or getting broken. You know what I mean? I'll keep those in a box with the rest of the parts and just fucking look at this shit. But I'm also thinking, with the way I have it set up in my basement, I'm also going to be like thinking of ways to like enhance its display, because since I don't have the full track set up for the monorail, I just have the ring. I still have the tower support arms on the 2 other towers, So what I'm thinking is, if I get some like, I don't want to necessarily say like Christmas lights, but if I get like LEDs, I can like at least put some LEDs behind the base, the base of Eternia, and at least get some backlight. But I'm also thinking of getting some like smaller Christmas lights to like attach to the track arms to at least, you know what I mean, just add something to it visually, because it looks pretty sick right now. And for Patreon subscribers, I did make another post where I took photos of the setup and I put that up for all of y'all. But I'm going to take another break real quick, and when I get back, we'll wrap up the show and we'll open up this Ryu figure. Alright, we're back. Now, today, like I said, I've been in such a happy, euphoric state for the past week. I really need something to take the edge off. And I'm going to open up something new here on the show, because it's something else that has always been one of my favorite loves in life, just as much as Masters of the Universe, and that has been my love of Street Fighter 2. Now, I am 44 years old right now, but I have been playing Street Fighter 2 since I was fucking 12. I have so many childhood memories of playing Street Fighter 2 at various locations in my life, various arcades, bus stations, you know what I mean? Sometimes Denny's had a Street Fighter 2 machine, sometimes diners had a Street Fighter 2 machine, sometimes bars that my parents went to had Street Fighter 2 machines. So I definitely spent a lot of time in my life playing Street Fighter 2. So with everything I've been collecting and buying right now, it is very sweet to see that Jada Toys has this line of Street Fighter figures, which is being officially labeled as Ultra Street Fighter 2 The Final Challengers. And the reason it's called Ultra Street Fighter 2 The Final Challengers is because Street Fighter 2 was interesting when it came out, because it was the sequel to Capcom's Street Fighter game, which introduced us as gamers to Ken and Ryu, and they would basically be the main characters going into Street Fighter 2, or at least the two most familiar characters for those that are, you know, moving on to Street Fighter 2. So you had Street Fighter 2 had different versions over the years, because you had the World Warrior that had 8 selectable fighters. You had Champion Edition that allowed you to play as the 4 Grandmasters, the 3 mini bosses, and M. Bison, your final 4 opponents in the game. And then you had Street Fighter 2 Turbo Hyper Fighting, which was Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, but now all the characters had a different, the characters had like a different color palette, and the gameplay was faster, and for console versions it was adjustable. But there also was Super Street Fighter 2, the new challengers, and then there was Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo is the game that introduced Akuma, and that was basically the end of Street Fighter 2 as Street Fighter 3 came out and the Alpha series was out. So Street Fighter evolved and moved on from Street Fighter 2, but then when Street Fighter 2 had its 15th anniversary, they put out a compilation on PlayStation 2, and I believe there was also an arcade cabinet where it was called Hyper Street Fighter 2. And what Hyper Street Fighter 2 was, as I get started opening him, what Hyper Street Fighter 2 was it was Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, but it gave you the option of picking which version of said character you wanted to play as. So it wasn't just a matter of picking Ken or Ryu, it was Ryu, however you want to pronounce it, or have been pronouncing it over the course of your life. I usually call him Ryu, but sometimes I say Ryu. I don't know, I guess it basically depends on how I'm thinking at the time I'm saying his name. But basically, when you picked Ryu, you were able to pick like his World Warrior version, his Champion Edition version, his Super Street Fighter 2 version, his his Hyper Fighting version. You know what I mean? And it made a difference based on some moves weren't available in some versions of his character in some games. So, you know, you could have like Super Street Fighter 2 Chun-Li taking on somebody also playing as Chun-Li, but they're using Chun-Li in her most basic, earliest form from World Warrior. So that was the 15th anniversary edition of Street Fighter 2, but why is this not coming out? This is fucking weird. So we had Hyper Street Fighter 2 for the 15th anniversary, but now that they're in the 30th anniversary of Street Fighter 2, now we got Ultra Street Fighter 2, the final challengers. So maybe that's what it was. Maybe I needed to cut this to get it out. Oh, fuck. So yeah, that's what this packaging is based on. And alright, for some reason that was just frustrating the hell out of me. I don't know. Why is this? Okay, for some reason that backdrop bottom of the inside box is not popping out. I don't know why, but I'm not going to let it distract me. I'm going to continue on with the show. But no, like, I was such a fan of Street Fighter 2 when I was a kid. Like, I played the hell out of it in arcades whenever I saw it. Because in the area locally, we had Aladdin's Castle at our Oakdale Mall. And even on our Vestal Parkway, next to the KFC, there was an Aladdin's Castle. And actually, I think before it was a KFC, it was like a taco maker or something like that. I might be wrong, but all I know is there used to be an Aladdin's Castle on the Vestal Parkway, and I remember playing Street Fighter 2 at that Aladdin's Castle. I remember playing it at our Oakdale Mall, and like I said, various bus stations, restaurants, so many places I've seen Street Fighter 2 machines over the course of my life, and I always took the opportunity to pop in a quarter just to see how the machine was compared to other Street Fighter machines that I played, because sometimes, you know, joysticks are a motherfucker. But no, I played the shit out of Street Fighter in the arcades. I also remember getting very excited to play Street Fighter on home consoles, because, like, as a kid, I was a Sega Genesis kid. I wasn't really into Super Nintendo until later, and so while everybody was getting Street Fighter 2 on Super Nintendo, I had to wait forever for Sega to finally get a port, and finally the Sega Genesis wound up getting a version of Street Fighter 2 that was called Street Fighter 2 Special Champion Edition, where it was kind of weird because it was Street Fighter 2, but it was like the Genesis owners got like a weird mashup of what was Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition as well as Street Fighter 2 Turbo. But the thing was, I think the reason Sega got a different name for the game is because I think it was because of some exclusive deal between Capcom and Nintendo. So Genesis owners couldn't technically have Street Fighter 2 Turbo because of Nintendo's deal with Capcom, but technically if they renamed the game, they wouldn't have a problem with them releasing it as such. So that's basically what Sega Genesis owners got. We got basically Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition that was no different than Street Fighter 2 Turbo because it still had the adjustable speed. So I remember getting that on my Sega Genesis. I believe it was my 14th birthday that I got that game. And the one thing that I really remember getting excited about the most about Street Fighter 2 coming to Sega Genesis was I actually got a VHS tape in the mail from Sega Visions magazine and Capcom. And it was a VHS cassette that was basically a like 10 or 12 minute video that was like an infomercial for Street Fighter 2 Special Champion Edition coming to the Sega Genesis. And I was just like absolutely blown away by that because I'm like, wait a minute, are you kidding me? Like they're making such a big deal about Street Fighter 2 coming to the Genesis that they're actually mailing out videotapes to people. Like, I couldn't believe that shit. And I remember, like, watching that all the time. Like, kind of how, like, some people watch movie trailers today on YouTube. Like, I was so geeked out at the fact that, Sega sent me a video cassette. Because it seemed like Sega was getting just as excited for Street Fighter 2 as I was. And, but yeah, I've always played Street Fighter 2, was always a fan of it. I bought that game so many times over the course of my life, whether it was Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, you know, even on anytime there was a version of it available for whatever current console I had, I got Street Fighter 2. And I can say the one thing I was really, as a Street Fighter fan, I was always like super most impressed about was the one version of the game that they put out in, let's see here, the one version of the game they put out, I believe it was like 2010 on the PlayStation 3. And it was Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix. And I just remember that being such a badass game because they took the original Street Fighter 2 and they had the Udon comic book team go over all the pixel art with animation cells and then gave us this HD anime looking version of Street Fighter 2 that just looked so absolutely beautiful. Plus they took Joe Esposito's You're the Best and they used that song in the trailers, and there was like 3 different trailers that was like round 1, round 2, round 3, and I remember that being absolutely amazing. But there he is in all his glory right now. We got Ryu, and he's a 16-inch, I believe he's 30 points of articulation. He looks like he's 30 points of articulation, like a WWE elite figure. He also... Some monkey around with this. Just trying to yeah, he's got his 30 points of articulation, and super fully posable. I like the way he feels in my hand. Like, he's made by Jada Toys, so far with anything that I own from Jada Toys, that includes my Chester Cheetah, that includes Frankenberry, Count Chocula, and Boo Berry. So, Ryu feels pretty good. I mean, for buying a Street Fighter 2 figure, like, this is absolutely sick. I remember when they had the first Ryu figure as like a G.I. Joe body, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? But I understood at the time it was like Capcom's earliest like official merch for Street Fighter once it started getting popular. But this figure looks absolutely sick. This is the same scale as my Marvel Legends figures, so I'm excited to be grabbing some of these Street Fighter figures because they'll go perfectly with like my X-Men 97 figures, so I can get some X-Men versus Street Fighter action going on. But as far as this line goes of Jada Toys, right now, like Ryu, I was able to buy him. Chun-Li and Fei Long are also available, but Ken is currently pre-ordered. He's supposed to show up at some point in March, so I should have Ken soon. But like I said, Ryu is 6 inches. He comes with an extra set of hands. He's got punching fists, but he also has Hadouken hands. So right now, I have him in somewhat of a Hadouken-looking pose, where at least it looks like he's throwing a fireball. I had to do it to make sure he was able to stand and look somewhat dope. I don't know, maybe if I adjust, move his waist. Yeah, there we go, a little bit. There we go, a little bit better. But as you can see, he comes with a Hadouken fireball effect that has a nice pop-on stand, and that just looks pretty freaking sweet. So I like how they went the extra mile to make it look like he's throwing a fireball. And I know Ken comes with a red fireball, and it'll be interesting to see have Ken and Ryu face off against each other, but also for the purpose of messing around and taking pictures, it's going to be pretty cool to put him in a couple of shots with Gambit or Magneto, and even the Wolverine figure I have. And I got Cyclops and Jean Grey and Nightcrawler pre-ordered for Wave 2 of the X-Men 97 figures. But yeah, same scale all around, super dope. I like it when I'm collecting lines that are the same scale and somewhat cross-compatible and able to have decent photos taken and it doesn't look ridiculous or wonky. But I think he looks absolutely sick. He was like $24, and based on a lot of the stuff I collect, that's basically like the average price on some of the figs. So 25 or under for me. Try to keep it on a budget, but yeah, absolutely sick. Looks incredible. Can't wait to get Ken. Like right now, it looks like Jada Toys is just starting off with this line. They started it last year, so Chun-Li, Ryu, and Fei Long are available. Ken's coming out. For all I know, there could be 2 other figures, maybe more, being announced this year. On the back of the box, they have the entire roster from Ultra Street Fighter 2, the Final Challengers. It has all 8 of the original World Warriors, the 4 final bosses. It adds the 4 new challengers. It has Akuma, and it also adds Evil Ryu and Violent Ken. 2 variants of Ken and Ryu that basically are dickheads and evil. And I don't know if Jada Toys plans on putting out all of these figures. It would be kind of cool if they did. All I know is I'm glad I'm apparently just getting started with this line. So I got Ryu, I got Ken pre-ordered. I just need to grab Chun-Li and Fei Long at some point, and I'll be caught up with them. But I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I promise I'm going to be fucking opening this soon. I swear to God. To be honest with you, I thought I was going to have this Mega Eternia playset built before the actual Eternia showed up at my fucking house. My mind is fucking blown right now. Like I said, euphoric state for the past year, but I finally got to crack one open and take the edge off, and I'm so glad I got to let all of you watch me do it. But until next time, cheers, Pete!
Fuck Ian Daddybones. Fuck Twin Widow, whatever the hell it is. No one gives a shit about you, Ian. Everyone hates you. Fuck off.
Oh my god, I'm so excited. Having a banger and you're all invited. Share with friends and I'll see you later. Bring everyone, invite my haters. Throw your hands in the fucking air. Let's push a cripple down a flight of stairs. Got new shit right for your ears. My Hadouken is downright fierce. Rock out with my cock out. Jump around, I got your shout outs. I'm Daddybones, no need to panic. Talking riddles like a schizophrenic. 24/7, I got the party. Roofie roos and whoop-de-doos. Retarded fools with attitudes, bro. Everything's mixed with Bacardi. Glow stick black like tons of bubbles. Titties on bitches, nothing but trouble. Got my pills, ain't no quitter. Pop that shit, here comes my glitter. Not a dancer, I got no skills. Bobbing my head and standing still. Tons of bitches, ravers, goths. Down to fucking get your salad tossed. It's the greatest thing that you ever saw. Put your hands in the air for a party. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Having a bang and you're all invited. Get kids posing, muscles flexing, trainings dressed like the favorite X-Men. If there's one thing that drives me crazy, you give high fives but you fucking hate me. Might have rabies, might have herpes. Breastfeed me and you'll have to burp me. I'll be up on stage, throwing out beads, grabbing my dick and spraying my seed all over your face. That's fucking rude. Raise it up and show your boobs. Dance around and go friggin' nuts. Just b-boy stance and light your blunts. Don't be a cunt. Tuck your chain, don't start no shit. Use your brain, it's all a game. Let's play some Yahtzee. Eat Tide Pods and punch a Nazi. Not a dancer, I got no skills. Bobbing my head and standing still. Tons of bitches, ravers, goths. Down to fucking get your salad tossed. It's the greatest thing that you ever saw. Put your hands in the air for